to see the following people for the crit: Judith, Miles, Nicole, Trong, Jamie, and Abdi. The rest of you can head out and get some rest. For the remaining artists, we'd like to find out more about your pieces. Okay, Nicole, let's start with you. Do you have one of these when you were a kid?
I had something very similar. This was actually made in the 70s, but I feel so connected to it. Like, I've lived with it. Our consumer culture is really based around electronic objects. We keep discarding and discarding, and I wanted it to be a tomb.
Don't you normally walk into a tomb, like a mausoleum?
This is a particular, almost like a burial site, so I wanted the viewer to walk around and then peer inside.
There's just a beauty and romanticism in this piece.
And this romanticism, this sadness, this loss, I think is echoed also in the materials.
Okay, Judith.
Well, when we went to the electronics graveyard, we were faced with so many different things. I didn't have a plan. Little by little, I started getting kind of a meaning out of the chords and that they carry current and it's about energy. And like this thing suggests maybe it's picking up sounds from the universe or whatever, but obviously, you know, it doesn't. The wires reaching out and all the grid, you know. I mean, it had a story, but it was just that. I think it needs it. Okay, thank you.
Well, first of all, there's a craziness about the piece.
That's for sure.
Which came out a little bit when you were explaining it.
Actually, for me, it feels like a model. It doesn't really feel like a sculpture.
I see this as a drawing. The wires become the lines of a pencil.
Yeah, it was all supposed to be a little bit, you know, ambiguous that way.
I think maybe a little too ambiguous.
Jamie. I imagine that these two pieces have lived for years and years and years, and they froze in time, and they died doing their good service.
Oh, that's what it is.
There is a lot of me in this, embracing something that's very cheesy. I mean, look at how I'm dressed. I look like a 70-year-old mother of the bride or something. I recognize this is, you know, this is cheesy Americana, but I hand-painted everything. I didn't screen print it. There's a care that went into it.
This is a sort of a classic problem when a painter tries to make sculpture and they're not dealing with these things as objects. It's a piece of a set.
We don't feel the life here. I don't hear the hum. I don't hear the buzzing of the light. I'm not feeling any of that energy.
It is very much like a store display. I actually think that you're not making art here.
You have created a mystery here. I'm not engaged with that mystery. I'm not curious about this. And I'm moving on to the next piece.
Miles.
This whole piece for me was about setting up the most uncomfortable environment for me to try and fall asleep in. It's just been an issue with me since I've been in the competition where I've been sleeping so poorly.
I got to know about you, the artist, and about artists in general. I liked that you activated the sculpture with your own body.
Part of the performance aspect of this was my awareness of the kind of sensual nature of sleep.
I would say it goes beyond that. I would say that the butthole and all of the signifiers in this piece are all about this sense of the body.
In all, this is the most theatrical work. Yet at the same time, it was the most fragile. That is very difficult to achieve.
Thank you, Miles.
So I decided to create sort of a generic couch with 3 TVs representing a family unit of couch potatoes watching a TV, and they're both kind of having a dialogue between themselves.
Trong, where are you in this piece?
There is this referencing to, you know, a personal aspect of it, which is that we're all in this process together. In this reality television show, we love watching it. We are fixated to it.
And what does Up Next WWTFD mean?
It's a sort of an insider artwork reference. It means what would Tom Friedman do?
Who is Tom Friedman?
Tom Friedman is a conceptual artist. He gives himself a project. It's something like, I have 12 hours, I have 10 cereal boxes, and I need to make the Millennium Falcon. And so it's a playful reference, and I wanted to keep the piece playful as well.
But we know a lot, but we learn nothing about Trong.
Like, that's something I might agree with.
Hey, Trong, I liked And you talked about a playfulness, and I'd really, gotten that.
It has no life in it.
And where I'm
Miles,
standing.
do you have a comment?
I'm sorry. This piece is distractingly boring. And I think the core ideas that you have are there. I just don't think they were realized.
I mean, that's an opinion. I think we all have opinions about things.
If you were going to do a retrospective of your work, would this piece be in it?
I'm not sure.
Time to move on to the next piece. Abdi.
I wanted to have these kids that had televisions in heads as if they were almost products more of the media than their actual natural parents.
I really see it as a kind of self-portrait of you as adult and as child.
And the head has so much life for me. I love the way it's sort of off to the side, looking down.
How you handle the materials, the posture and the pose is pretty great.
Yeah, and it's completely contained. Like the joystick that he's playing with is connected to his belly button, which
It's the umbilical cord.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's connected. That's his life. That's his lifeline.
Thank you, artists. Please return to the studio while we deliberate.
I found that what was said to Trong to be really over the top harsh. It was like,
I thought it was really a good show.
The spirit of this challenge is making all of this junk personal. And these artists took it on.
I would say Nicole really stepped up on this one. She showed us her sense of materials in a way that was pretty thrilling. There was a kind of archaeology, and it was pretty amazing to look into a sculpture.
It's got a lot of depth and integrity, and at the same time, it's got a very beautiful touch.
What about Abdi?
I thought it was interesting that he was the only artist that took on gaming culture and trying to make some commentary about that.
Yeah, the subtlety of having the boy man, I love that. Beautiful.
Even though the head is a TV, I felt some humanity in a very alien-looking creature.
I love that there was someone asleep in the art gallery. That adds just yet another layer of vulnerability that I found pretty exciting.
Having the two anuses on either side, I thought that was overkill.
So why don't we move on to the less successful pieces in this challenge?
Trong made the mistake in thinking that by showing us how much he knows about the art world, that somehow that would elevate the piece.
His insider art joke was just too insular. I was very disappointed with Jamie's work. It really fell flat.
I do feel there was such an opportunity to manipulate these appliances, and she stuck them there.
Well, you could just tell she was outside of her comfort zone completely.
I thought you guys were too nice to Judith. She had no idea of what her intent was with this piece, and she didn't explain at all during the crit what she was trying to accomplish.
No, but she knew she did not go far enough.
And it looks like a bunch of junk on a table.
Well, it looks like we've got all our answers. This challenge was about taking something old and abandoned and breathing new life into it. You all did that, but there can only be one winner tonight. The winner will receive immunity and cannot be eliminated next week. Congratulations. Miles, you made a true work of art.
You jumped off the cliff, and you landed on your 2 feet. You put yourself in the work. Literally. And we learned a lot about you in the process.
Winning 2 challenges is amazing. If I can keep having really great food and free beer and free art supplies, I would stay here as long as they let me.
You all can return to the studio and set down your colleagues.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
honestly, I didn't think I was going to be at the bottom 3. I just can't see it. No. Hey, so who won?
Miles.
Yay, Miles!
You win. That is awesome.
Pretty awesome.
Bye.
is not what it looks like, but how it makes us feel. Your work didn't make us feel anything.
Jamie, you gave us theater, you gave us store design, but you didn't give us sculpture, and that was the challenge.
Trong, you took 4 TVs and you gave us 4 TVs, and this just wasn't enough.
Judith, your piece had a lot of energy, but it completely lacked direction.
Judith, Jamie, Trong, one of you is leaving us tonight. Your work of art didn't work for us. I'm sorry, it's time to go.
I've been a professional artist for a long time now. Yes, everyone has an opinion, they're entitled to their opinion, and that's the way I'm going to take it. I'm going to try to keep my dignity. I'm out of here. Oh, sorry. I think it's a very positive experience for me. I mean, regardless of what the judges say, I'll continue making what I'll make, and I'm very confident in what it has to say and how relevant it is.